Are eggs good for your IBS, your irritable bowel syndrome? Or will they make it worse? Eggs is one of these foods that often gets labeled as like a food allergy and is responsible for your symptoms. My name is Mike the Healer Gut Guy, and I used to suffer from a horrible case of IBS. And if you want to know, to learn everything that I did to get better from IBS, go in the description and sign up for my webinar and watch it. I'll show you everything that I did. But first, watch this video. I don't talk about eggs much in my webinar. Eggs are one of the most nutrient-dense foods you could be eating. And now I'm going to explain to you like what is really causing your irritable bowel syndrome, the proper way to treat your IBS. And like eggs can be either a really important part of that treatment plan, like actually nourish your body, or it can destroy your body, depending on a few certain things. I'm going to tell you like what are the best types of eggs to get and what types of eggs you should avoid. So first off, let's talk about just whether eggs are good or not. And now we need to understand that our gut is controlled by our brain. So if we perceive this food to be bad and it comes into us, our brain is going to want to eject it. So when I was a little kid, I would go to McDonald's and I would get the Egg McMuffins. And I was a super picky eater. I was a very weird kid, and I did not like eating the egg yolks. I would eat around the egg yolks, and I remember having a relative kind of yell at me for not eating the egg. Oh, you're being so wasteful. Eat those egg yolks. And of course, me being a little kid, I got scared and I cried, and then they took away my Happy Meal toy, because that was the punishment for not eating the egg yolk. Now, I follow something called German New Medicine, which tells us that our IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome, is controlled by a conflict shock, a traumatic event in our life. And it doesn't necessarily have to be traumatic, but it's like a stressful situation that puts our gut into overdrive. I couldn't digest the toy because of that stupid egg. Egg represents danger now. Danger, danger, danger. Now, every time I have to eat an egg, I want to eject it from my existence, and it's a food, so the brain goes, okay, I'll give you diarrhea. We can eject this thing from your existence. So the way that this goes, like I'm developing extra gut cells when that's the conflict shock. I'm developing extra gut cells to help me digest this toy that got taken away from me. Or I could interpret this differently, and it goes on to the colon, and I want to eject this crappy egg from my existence because it's getting in the way of me absorbing my toys. Or I could want to eject that relative that yelled at me for it. We don't know how the subconscious is going to respond to this situation. But I want you to start looking in the right place for this. When the conflict gets resolved, maybe one day I decide that I like eggs and I eat the egg yolk. Maybe that's the resolution, and the body gets rid of those extra gut cells, and blood and mucus starts flying out of my butt. So this is the way we need to think about this. Then I'm going to blame eggs. Oh my God, last time I had eggs, the last meal before I had to run to the toilet and I had diarrhea and all this mess started, I had an egg. I remember it clear as day. Eggs are the devil. You need to understand that all this is just PTSD of the butthole. That's all IBS is. That's all irritable bowel syndrome is. PTSD of the butthole. And maybe eggs. It's very easy for food and eggs, because we eat them so often, to become a PTSD trigger. Don't let this become a PTSD trigger. Okay? Let's talk about eggs in general. Are they a good food to eat? Eggs are a tremendous food to eat. They're relatively affordable. They're affordable. They're easy to cook. And if you hard boil them, you can eat them on the go. Think about this. Inside of this egg, there's everything, all the nutrients needed for it to develop into a baby bird. So it has all the nutrients essential for life, we could argue. The egg yolks is packed with the fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin A, D, E, and K2. So eggs are an excellent food. And the most important nutrient is protein. Protein is the Greek word for proteus. Of the utmost importance, it's a Greek word. Protein, the most important. Nitrogen is the mineral we're most composed of after carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Nitrogen's next, and nitrogen is protein. And eggs are packed with protein, a very affordable protein. Now, all right, what type of eggs should we buy? Because there's all sorts of soy-free. I don't even know what I'm looking at here. I didn't buy these. There's soy-free, vegetarian eggs. I mean, I've worked on a farm, and the idea that a chicken is vegetarian is absurd. They are little murderer chickens. Like they will kill lizards, they will kill snakes, they will kill bugs. It is almost, they will eat each other. It is almost impossible for a chicken to be vegetarian. It isn't possible. So when you get into the holistic community, you'll hear that chickens need to be grain-free. Their digestive system is actually geared to digest grains. Now, it would be good to avoid GMO grains and stuff like that, but grains are the most nutrient-dense plant foods. It's where the grass seeds concentrate all of its nutrients so that we can put that seed into the ground and it can survive and grow into another plant. Now, if I'm not going to go over every single label. There's so many of them, and they're changing every single day. But the way you know an egg is good is by how hard the shell is, and then more importantly, how orange the yolk is. Not how yellow it is, yellow and sickly looking, but how deep and orange. And I've even some people heard them describe them as almost red. Orange. Orange means there's more fat-soluble vitamins in that yolk. And pasture-raised are usually the best quality you can get, but sometimes you can get free-range eggs. And again, free-range could mean anything, but I worked on a farm where it would be hard to say whether they were free-ranged or pasture-raised. They were able to go run out after the cows and dig through their poop. They were eating bugs in the grass. And then more importantly, the farmer was like feeding them leftover dairy and feeding them grains. Grains are good, especially if they're organic grains. Corn's okay. The soy, like, you want to make fun of soy, but soy is a legume. Legumes have the most protein, are the most protein-dense grain. Okay, I know that's going to be a super unpopular opinion with the organic community. I had one farmer who was breeding worms and feeding the worms and the bugs to the chickens, and the chickens were doing amazing. Or they were feeding the leftover milk and the leftover yogurt to the chickens. When we did this on the farm that I worked at, I noticed that the chickens, their eggs had just a lot. Their yolks were just a lot deeper orange of a color, and their egg yolks were the shell of the eggs was thicker and harder and didn't crack as easily. So these are the things to look out for eggs. Eggs are a great food for your recovery from IBS, but do not blame eggs. Even if you are allergic to them, try to figure it out how that it is a PTSD trigger. What you need to do is go down and click on my webinar, and I'll show you everything that I did to get better from IBS.